tonight with a massive match between Altona Magic and the Bentleigh Greens. It's a beaten and battered up Bentleigh, that is for sure. Red cards and injuries depleting them for their visit here to Altona, who will be hoping to capitalise and take all 3 points against one of the blue bloods of NPL Victoria competition. My name's Teo Pellizzeri. Pleasure to have your company. Bryce Rutherford joins me as well. And Bryce, we are in the tower today because the weather is good. We may not stay here all winter, but we've got a bird's eye view for this match, which promises to be very interesting.
We do, and it's going to be one hell of a match. Teo, thanks for having me here this afternoon at Paisley Park. Obviously, the Bentleigh Green's been the benchmark of the competition for the last couple of years, and Altona Magic climbing the ranks over the last couple of seasons, and quite an impressive start from both teams in the NPL for 2019. Obviously, Bentleigh sitting up in second position at the moment, but as you said, heavily depleted tonight. But a big surprise name on the team sheet, Matthew Thurtell.
And let's go to the teams because Thurtell is in. Altona Magic with Daniel Collison, their goalkeeper. Liramel Marzi, number 2. 4, James McGarry. 5, Troy Rutherford. 6, Johnny Stajewski. 7, Daniel Kaczynski. 10, Dusan Bozniak. 15, Ross Archibald. 19, Sammy Noor. 24, Callum Richardson. And 45, Mikkel Hemmen. And for the Bentleigh Greens, their goalkeeper, Ryan Scott. 4, Charlie Fry. 5, Jack Webster. 8, George Lambatteridis. 10, Tyson Holmes. 11, James Exidius. 16, Josh Meeker. 17, Arnold Saev. 18, Matt Thurtell. 23, Velibor Mitrovic. And 28, Marios Gerondaris. And Matt Thurtell, he had what we thought was quite a serious injury last week, Bryce, and yet he is fronting up today. You did Bentleigh's game against Oakley. How surprised are you that Thurtell has been passed fit to start the game?
Well, from what we were told from the media team after the game, Demir and myself, they thought it was a broken ankle at first suspect. So to see him on the ball here at the moment to start this clash as he does now, very surprised to see him out here. Depending how long he lasts, that's the other question. And
as the game kicks off, who's going to win and why?
I'm going to go for a Altona Magic 2-1 win. I think they can do it.
Bentleigh, if they can get a result tonight, it would be a major coup for them. Hope you're enjoying the company on the NPL Victoria YouTube channel and Facebook page. If you're having issues with Facebook, YouTube is up and running flawless at the moment. That's what I'm using to watch from here in the tower. And when we do have Facebook operational, we will read out the best of your comments as well as part of our broadcast this evening. One of 3 games. Bryce, the other 2 that are on tonight, we've got the league leaders Avondale visiting Hume City. Who do you think is going to prevail up there?
Look, Avondale, I watched them last week on the stream and they were quite impressive. I think they're going to go on with that. Hume, they've been in all right form, a bit up and down the last couple of weeks, but yeah, Avondale, they've got something about them this year, I think.
And the other match is Dandenong Thunder. I'm not going to ask for a tip because it's the Thunder, and they are impossible to predict. And their match is up against Port Melbourne Sharks, who hit form and hit 5 goals last week.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. That you never know what you're going to get with the Thunder. But I think at home at a Duckland Stadium tonight at 7 o'clock, I think they might just scrape home maybe another 2-1 win.
Well, you can enjoy all 3 of those matches. I know I will be. It'll keep me company on the drive home. And even this afternoon, Bryce, I was jumping back and forth between matches. I was enjoying the commentary of Steve Curtin and Katie Lambeski as Green Gully beat Pascoe Vale 4-0. Maybe not a surprise that Gully won, as we see a bit of trouble here for Fry as he gets his pocket picked by Sammy Noor, and that's an easy decision for the referee to pay the foul. And I think Altona are right to say, where's the card even? Because that was not exactly good awareness from Charlie Fry to get caught like that.
And he also moved the ball on too. Instead of kicking it away, we'll say the more polite terminology of just moved it on and gave his side a bit more time to set up, because as people that follow the NPL week in, week out, they know that the Magic do have a number of boys that are good in the set piece.
And Troy Rutherford is one of them. James McGarry the other. So 2 right footers, just 3 in the wall for Ryan Scott. And of course, his season ended last year on that Jonathan Germano free kick, so I'm sure setting the wall and set pieces was a big focus for him over summer. It is McGarry, and that one is too high and well wide in addition. So a bit of a missed opportunity, free kick in a good area, and they haven't been able to test the keeper.
Yeah, that will be the one point that Goran Lozanovsky will want his men to do tonight, is to take their chances on the set piece, because as you said, they've lost the height, Bentleigh, with Marko Jankovic getting sent off last weekend against Oakley Cannons, and that's an opportunity there for the Magic to basically stake a claim for a lead.
George Lakrindis is today's referee. Of course, you might be familiar with him running the line in the A-League on a regular basis, but he's the central ref here tonight, as we see a battle for possession out to the right side. Stajewski yields the ball to Holmes. And his cross into the box was cleared initially. And the duel continues. Kaczynski coming through. Can't take possession at this time. Assistant referees tonight, Alexander Nikolowski and Di Huo. And Astro Sakalis, the best fourthie in the business, is fourth official. To the benches, because we didn't read them out pre-game, Altona have put Shane Vitikangas back on the bench. Their second keeper, Robert Nomoski, Yasin Noor, Marino Gasparis, and Sam Mitchinson loses his spot in the starting 11 as well. While for the Bentleigh Greens, a lot of inexperienced players at NPL level. Tristan Mika, the brother of Josh, Tom Baynard-Smith, Tom Fogarty, Will Demanis, and Stefanos Gerandaris. Safe to say, those are not names we've come to know in the NPL, because when you're in the Bentleigh Greens 20s, you generally don't get a sniff of the seniors unless you are something special. Well,
that's the thing. They've got the opportunity tonight here at Paisley Park, so they'll obviously want to try and impress Johnny A and hopefully try and keep their spot. It's a tough one because they have got a lot of big names out, as you mentioned, but look, they'll probably come to more consideration if they put in a good shift here tonight.
Well, it'd be remiss of me not to mention some of those names, because you mentioned Marko Jankovic red-carded, as we see Jack Webster is regular central defensive partner storming through here. They've also had Jacob Alexander sent off last week. Valentino Uel is currently standing to our left in the injured corner. And he's off to Western United as well. Let's not forget, he's heading to the A-League. Who else has slipped my mind here, Bryce? There are even more players for the Bentleigh Greens that aren't lining up tonight.
Yeah, there is a fair few. Barassi?
Yes, Josh Barasi's the other one. Great shout. Gee. And Brody Taylor as well. So that's 5 of their starting 11, more or less. Oh, Taylor, maybe at the strongest 11, he's on the bench, but tell you what, it's the nucleus of its own team that are not playing tonight.
Yeah, 100%. And if you ask Johnny A, and I think most NPL fans would agree with him as well, but Bentleigh Green is probably one of the most stable sides in the NPL the last couple of seasons, and they've probably got the most depth out of all sides too. So they'll be tested tonight, that's for sure.
Long ball here will be dealt with at left back. And we've spoken at length about Bentleigh. Of course, Altona Magic, managed by Goran Lozanovsky. Already some comments on the stream about the surface. Yeah, Paisley Park is certainly not the clubhouse leader when it comes to the surfaces. It may look green for the most part, but it does have that big bend in the middle of the pitch that slopes down to either side. And it's also quite a thick, heavy surface as well, which can make it hard to play on, especially for teams that like a passing game. As Sammy Noor here hooks his shot, hoping for Hemmen, and that was almost very deliberate, but it's cleared away. The Dutchman, who has a great eye for goal. As we see here, possession is yielded by the Bentleigh Greens, happy to just boom it long onto the head of Liram Elmazi. Brought out of the sky by Kaczynski. Boschniak through the left channel here, and Hemmen is offside. Flag goes up, and the Dutchman takes a shot, but he didn't trouble Ryan Scott.
Do you think if you're the committee here of Altona, you're asking your groundsman to make the pitch a bit worse this week? Because, you know, Kingston Heath's one of the best services in the league. Try and rough it up a little bit to put them off their game, possibly.
It's funny because I think some of the players that Altona Magic have would actually like a Kingston Heath surface for themselves. And to be honest, it's been a pretty warm start to the season. We've only really had one rainy weekend in the first 2 months of the year. Do you really want to run the risk of making it worse before the actual bad weather comes along?
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Here's Sammy Noor hooking the cross, and Ryan Scott, a little bobble, having to look into the sun as well as he fields that attempt. And now Tyson Holmes looking to drive through the lines, out to the right side. Play comes to a bit of a stop. Crooks is the other one. Matthew Crooks, the right back, is the other player who's not in for the Bentleigh Greens tonight. Gee, it is a totally new-look team then. And yet, you know that John Anastasiadis will organise them in a way to make them competitive. Yeah,
well, from what I've been told, the under-20s and the senior team train the same way and together sometimes. So I think they know what to come in and expect. Obviously, Johnny O being one of the best in the business, going off to Western United in a couple of months' time. But, yeah, I think the boys that step up should be able to handle themselves.
Here's Kaczynski. He's working his way backwards here. McGarry. Ross Archibald, of course, a former Bentleigh Green with 1 year at Avondale last season in between. Now Liram Elmazi. He sees Johnny Stajewski getting forward. That raking left foot of Stajewski. But his cross is dealt with on this occasion by Webster. Right down on the last line of defence. Jack Webster clears the ball and finds a teammate as well. Good pass to connect with Josh Meeker. And his pass not so good. Here is Matt Thurtell testing that ankle, and he's a big basketball fan, Thurtell, and that was almost an ankle breaker there as he stopped in the surface, and it was a very tentative change of direction. I don't want to read too much into it, but he knows his body at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's usually a very sharp player too, and I watched him chase down Ross Archibald moments ago, and he didn't look 100% right, but that run there, a good 40-yard sprint for Thurtell, and looks all right, but as you said, just that sharpness was out of it on the turn, which we're normally used to seeing with Matt Thurtell.
He's going to get an opportunity here. Does he go from distance? He waits for the ball to arrive, and then support from Mitrovic. George Lambatteridis. Holmes. He's going to take the game on. Dancing on the ball. And now first time shot from Lambatteridis. And that is actually one of his default moves, the sweeping right-footed ball from the right side that hunts for the inside netting on the left. He seems to be one of those players who can just catch goalkeepers and defences unawares, but he couldn't find his radar there.
Yeah, he has got a record of doing that. Tay, I've got to ask you something. If you're a coach coaching against Matt Thurtell tonight, do you put a player out there to try and target him and test out that ankle? Or do you let the fair play just go and see what happens in the game?
I guess the thing is, if he's on the ball, that's when you go in for him. On that occasion, he was able to get in a bit of space, lose the midfield and the defence. There was no one really in the vicinity. I don't think you target someone. I think if the opportunity is there, you take it. A bit of byplay here. Ross Archibald, who is one to suffer from white line fever, safe to say. Trying to buy a yellow card, but George Lacrindis, a cool head prevailing from the central referee. And this is Callum Richardson. Can't find a way through initially. Sammy Noor. He's going to steer it back to Elmazi.
It's good to see Sammy Noor back in the starting team too, because I think that's one thing they missed the other week when they played at Kingston. A bit of pace on that wing. They had Stan Bolger, who was out injured tonight, in that role, but I think Sammy Noor's offered him a little bit extra than what Stan Bolger have. Not saying he's not a great player, but just a bit of a different version on the right wing.
Of course, we know that they've got a lot of attackers to try and cram into this team, the Altona Magic. This is Velibor Mitrovic. Long diagonal ball, and Arnold Saev, the German, running from deep, almost forcing a corner from that back pass, and it's good endeavour from Collison to stop it going behind.
This would be his first start in a number of weeks as well. Obviously, Vitikangas holding the fort between the white sticks and maybe picking up an injury against Heidelberg last week, or maybe being dropped. They did cop 4 goals. I wouldn't say many were his fault.
It was a surprising result. I thought Altona would be a bit closer. Heidelberg proving themselves at Olympic Village to be very difficult to play, though.
Well, that first 20 minutes of that game last weekend for Altona, they did dominate, and then just something must have clicked with Heidelberg and produced a very good second half.
I think they really ground them down. We saw them come from behind last night to beat Kingston in similar fashion as Stojevski. Another teasing cross. This one is dealt with by a chain of headers. Rutherman plays it to McGarry. Ross Archibald, the centre-back, goes roaming. Trying to turn provider here, Archibald. And then the sneaky little pass out to Sammy Noor. Right into the traffic. Only picked out Tyson Holmes. Bit of a waste. And there is that first sort of 50-50 for Matt Thurtell. Held his ground well. Mika keeps it moving, and Saev can't chase it down as the ball goes out. Decent crowd in. Altona Magic, not known for a huge fan base, but certainly bigger than some of the smaller teams. And the visit of Bentleigh Greens, especially across town, is not going to bring too many with them, but it's a decent gathering of fans in at the venue tonight. So we see a good touch from Lambatteridis, and Richardson stops him in his path. Holmes. Centre of midfield. Lambatteridis. It was clever from Rutherman, because had he not been there, Mika might have been through the right and away.
One thing that's a bit different with the Magic this week, Teo, is they're looking to play a lot more narrower, playing a lot more short balls. The last couple of weeks we have seen them using the width, trying to get in behind with that long ball, but obviously they've identified something with Bentleigh tonight where they can try and use that narrow passage.
In an attacking sense, Altona have found themselves to be a bit crowded out by the Bentleigh Greens so far. Can they find a bit of breathing room for Boschnak? as he runs away from Holmes and tries, well, it was both a cross and a shot. He had a bit of a bob each way. It wasn't going to lob Ryan Scott, nor was it going to find the head of Sammy Noor.
Yeah, shortest man on the pitch.
So Bentleigh are quick to switch up to halfway. Holmes has been everywhere so far, almost a free roll, just wherever he's needed on the end of a teammate's pass, as is the case here. This left side, Exidius. Long ball, Thurtell in between the defenders, and he got there first time. We know that he's such a great judge of the ball coming from behind him, rolling into his path, and that was classic Matt Thurtell. He just didn't get a great purchase on the attempt.
It's a bit of a tricky one too for Bentleigh this half, because there is a bit of a strong wind at ground level. We noticed before the game we're obviously up in the tower next to the camera, so we're at a bit of height. It's quite windy up here as well, but we'll see if Bentleigh use that to their advantage in the first 45.
It can be icy, and you know it's winter here at Paisley Park as much as any other venue in the NPL. So the fact we're even here at all up in the tower suggests that it's definitely not winter yet.
Well, the sun is out and it's blue sky, so we'll take it while we've got it.
Archibald to Elmazi. A little bit stationary ahead of the ball. The one man who moved was Kaczynski, and so he gets the pass. Tucks it back for Stajewski. In fact, that was McGarry. Archibald. And a foul on Charlie Fry. So an exchange of fouls between those two early doors. Nothing too vicious about either of them. 15 minutes have ticked by without a goal. Plenty of comments coming in, but the ones in Hellenic, I cannot read. Artemios Kouskousis. So unless you can run them through Google Translate for me, I'll assume that you're barracking for your team. And Ako says Velibor Mitrovic for another assist. So he thinks the Bentleigh Greens are definitely going to score at least one tonight.
Well, he's definitely one of the danger men for the Greens that Altona do need to keep an eye out tonight.
Holmes. Stajewski. Gerendaris facing him. Foul goes Altona Magic's way. Elmazi, long high free kick. Webster wins the initial header. Sammy Noor, athletic to trap the ball high in the air. And now Hemmen turning Fry. Hemmen! And Scott bats it away. Some shouts for handball, and then Hemmen runs through to challenge again. But once he turned his man, he had no intention other than to shoot.
Yeah, and you're coming up against one of the best goalkeepers in the NPL Victoria, so it was a good effort to get the strike off, but it was basically hit straight to Ryan Scott.
We saw Nikola Roganovic make a few saves like that last night in the Knights versus South Melbourne game. Shots straight at you that still require good reflexes. So we see a ball fired out to the right here. The flag stays down for Sammy Noor. Fry comes across to guard him. Noor, the step over, leaves Fry behind. And now McGarry. That one was always rising, but Altona might feel like they're getting a bit closer now.
Yeah, and Sammy Noor is getting plenty of room on this right-hand side, but just for me, he's picking the wrong option. He's trying to get the ball across, but he's not really trying to find a man as such in a red and black jersey. So I think that's one thing Sammy can probably look at doing here, is just trying to alternate that game style that he's trying to take on Charlie Fry's. He did slip over, so he did have some room to move, but just not taking the right option in that final product.
No other NPL goals around the ground to tell you of, but one in the A-League, Newcastle 0, Western Sydney 1. Just about close the door to the top 6 if Newcastle were to lose today. So we see a long ball here to Boschniak. Sammy Noor, Hemmen unmarked, and it's another great save from Scott. Huge from the goalkeeper that time, and Hemmen really should have put Altona Magic into a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, great save there from Scotty. Good bit of play too from Mikael Hemmen trying to find the corner. He tried to pick it out, but Ryan Scott was up to the task.
Well, you'd back the Dutchman to bury that, given his pedigree. But Ryan Scott reacted and was able to tip it away. Massive save. Keeps this game scoreless, but for how long, you wonder? Altona have got into the groove, and are well and truly in control now. Tell you what, if there's one goalkeeper that you want in a situation where your team is just under siege, maybe it's Scotty. Could he be in for the game of his life to keep a clean sheet tonight? Altona are keen on asking more questions. Kaczynski in a 1-on-2, but he's able to squeeze out of it, and then a low drive for a corner kick.
And he had Ruthven there on the edge of the box, was in space. He wasn't picked up there, and interesting just to hear Johnny Aberfor saying to leave McGarry and Ruthven free in the middle. As if I'm an opposition coach coaching against those two boys, I'd be having them pretty tightly marked.
I wonder what the logic is behind that. Are they just going to concede possession and force them to move up the pitch? Here's a corner kick. McGarry to the near post. Scott drags it in first time. Good hold. And then a shot put style throw. Mitrovic can't get beyond Richardson. As a train goes past behind the goal to the right of screen. That's what you can hear roaring through the effects microphone as Thurtell is on his bike here. In a battle of the ponytails with Liram Elmazi. Back to Exidius. Charlie Fry. So Bentleigh went from a promising position all the way back to their goalkeeper there. Not really the release of the pressure that they needed going down to their attacking end. As Webster is trapped this time. See the fans all shielding their eyes over on the city side of the ground. Mitrovic a little faint, but then his pass wasn't quite as clever. And now Sammy Noor can return the ball with interest. He's going to take on Mitrovic and sprint away from him. The surface isn't the greatest as he tries to keep his feet. A little step over. And rather than first time cross, Hemmond, can he get there this time? Scott punches away. Oh, and he's snatched at the chance by Kaczynski, who just lost his composure at the key moment.
And Ryan Scott has absolutely flattened his captain and Jack Webster, who's down on the ground at the moment, coming out to punch that cross from Ruthven. But yeah, just some composure needed there from Kaczynski. Could have put that in the far corner because Ryan Scott was out of position.
And the physio, Brian Roberts, has been called out to treat Jack Webster. And if there's one player that Bentleigh can't afford to lose given the existing absentees, it is Jack Webster. And Ryan Scott, when your only objective is the ball, you don't know whether you're taking out a teammate or an opponent. Probably would have much preferred to have crashed into Mikel Hemmond rather than his own centre back.
Exactly right there, yeah. It's just one of those unfortunate things around a 6-yard box that can happen, but for Bentleigh's sake, you don't want to lose Jack Webster at this stage because they've got Charlie Fry, who's got some experience in the NPLs, coming as a bit player over the past couple of seasons. But when you look at their bench, just as we mentioned at the start of the broadcast, a lot of youth on there and not too much NPL experience in the top grade. So players taking this opportunity to have a drink and a bit of a powwow at the sidelines. Matt Thurtell and Josh Meeker receiving instructions from John Anastasiadis. As treatment continues here for Jack Webster, you'd think it'd take something nearly fatal to force him off the pitch at this point. So the referee will simply be marking time, taking note of how long this delay is, but Webster's on his feet and you suspect will be right to continue in the action. Stan says, for me, Ryan Scott's been outstanding this season, best in the league, saved Bentleigh in many games. Yeah, I'd have to agree with Stan there. He's definitely got to be one of those keepers that's there or thereabouts for an A-League contract next season, potentially with Western United, and his coach being an assistant. I think that's a no-brainer that he'll go to Western United, but he's got some stiff competition in the NPL, but he'd have to be my favourite to get a backup gig at least. Well, he was close at Newcastle. They ended up going for Luis Italiano over Ryan Scott. Of course, Italiano, no stranger to the NPL, having played at Bentleigh. Next little break, we might actually take a look at the NPL 2 scores today because Bentleigh had a big win themselves. We'll stay with play here. As the ball bounces out in front of these newly built Altona Magic dugouts. Both benches are now over on the broadcast side of the ground as well. Last year, they had benches on opposite sides, but, 2 years ago they had benches on opposite sides when they were in State 1, and then they moved them to the same side last year as Lambateridis. Mitrovic, a little backflip, in fact 2 black flips in a row, and Josh Meeker wins the foul, and Bentleigh Greens haven't had an attacking chance in some time. This
will be one of the best of them.
Yeah, it will be, and that was a good bit of play there from Bentleigh. Just keeping the ball moving, keeping Altona guessing and making the boys dive in there, and in the end they sort of got what they wanted, a free kick on the edge of the 18-yard box, and they've got plenty of talent too. Lambert Reid, he's on the ball right now, and Tyson Holmes, Mitrovic, plenty of names can hit a free kick.
So straight away 5 in the wall for Altona Magic. Daniel Collison insists that Mikel Hammond come over and stand in the wall. In fact, they're going to switch Dusan Boschniak in there as well. So they're going for all the tall players, all the height. Collison darts back onto his line here. Mitrovic is the left-footed option. Lambatouridis appears to be in pole position to strike this free kick. Can Bentleigh take the lead against the run of play? It is Lambatouridis, and it is well over the bar, and watch out if you're parked behind the goal.
If you're a black hole, and check your windscreen afterwards, but yeah, he's got to be wary of the wind here. It's actually quite strong, and you can see it just took the ball straight away, and the minor balls that they do use in the NPL are quite good, but they can also take with the wind as well.
So live scores at the moment, North Geelong 0, Melbourne Victory 1. That's in the 67th minute, so that would be I think 3 points dropped if North Geelong were to go down today against Victory, who themselves are perhaps more thinking about just staying in the top 6 in their division and avoiding being relegated into the third tier, as the bottom 4 in both NPL 2 East and West will be at the end of the year. Northcote and Eastern Lions are 0-0 after 52 minutes. Eastern Lions currently top of NPL 2 East, so if they were to win today, it would be a huge result. So we stay with Sammy Noor now. And he cuts in for Hemmen. Knew that Richardson had got forward. McGarry waits for the pass to roll to him, hits it in stride off the head of Charlie Fry. Mika against Rutherford. And good work from Rutherford just to evade Mika, but then has to go back to Liram El Marzi. Boschniak gets out in front of Lambatouridis and then sets it into the path of Stajewski. Gets to the ball right at the byline on his right side. Stajewski to Sammy Noor! Oh, what a goal!
What a goal!
Sammy Noor reaching out for the volley, and his technique was spot on as he loops it into the back of the net. And Johnny Stajewski is celebrating because he's come up with an assist on his right foot, perfectly onto Sammy Noor's left.
Fantastic finish there from Sammy Noor, and great bit of composure too from Ruth in the middle, just to spread the ball wide and then put it to the left-hand side. And that's one thing that Altona have been really doing in the start of this match that we haven't seen in recent weeks, just having that composure, just knock the ball around, not look for that long option all the time, and it's come off wonders here. And Sammy Noor, great finish.
That certainly brought the crowd to life. And the Bentleigh Greens with a free kick down at one end, just when it looked like maybe they were going to be able to pinch something against the run. Altona get reward for essentially being in control of this game through the first 26 minutes or so.
And do you think having former Bentleigh players in your team with Troy Ruthven and Ross Archibald for Altona, do you think that helps, having a bit of insight, because it is a unique style that Bentleigh do play?
I think so, absolutely. I think that's as much as what Avondale were acquiring last season, just as much as they were signing a very good player in Archibald. As we see, quick feed here from James Exidius. And there is it's Victorian football. There is a lot of politics, obviously, but the politics of who signs for who and where, and some clubs vow never to sign players from other teams or go and try and headhunt specific opponents. But the likes of Altona and Avondale, they care not for some of the, as we stay with Thurtell and the ball is cleared by Almazi, they care not for the relationships that other clubs may have. Of course, South Melbourne and Oakley seems to be a fairly open chain of passage, but you don't often see players, say, go from Heidelberg to Bentleigh and vice versa. So, yeah, they've come in and they've shaken up the establishment maybe of a few of the powerhouses that in the early years of the NPL were feeling as though they could, rule the roost.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what the NPL needed, especially this season in particular, having a team like Altona come in and, as you said, bring in a lot of big names on paper. It's one thing that take it from an Oakley Cannons or from an Avondale or a Bentleigh Greens, but look, if you can do it and you can attract these boys to your club, good luck to you.
And I think the signing of Hammond, just what it represents, I mean, you could probably make the case that he's been a better signing. I know it's the next level down, but you look at how much Yordi Thomason is struggling for Adelaide. He's played 6 games, hasn't scored, hasn't looked like scoring. Hammond's playing in the NPL. So we stay with this free kick from Tyson Holmes, and it's headed away. Based on what you've seen from Yordi Thomason in the A-League, do you think if he and Mikel Hemmon swapped, that as Thurtell tries a volley and he shanks that one, Ross Archibald, you can hear him through our FX microphone, who's on him. He's not happy that he had the shot to begin with. But do you really think that if Altona Magic were offered the choice of swapping Mikel Hemmon for Yordi Thomason right now, they'd do it? I don't think so.
Well, I think in terms of goal return, definitely not, because Hemmon has been a bit of a difference for the Magic since coming over the week before the season started, but he's settled in slowly. I don't think it's been a rich vein of form for him, but he has been hitting the score sheet, so you can't complain with his return of goal investment.
As he wins the header here, and now Sammy Noor, the goal scorer, his adrenaline pumping, gets down and heads that into his path. We know from that amazing Bulleen season he had that when he gets a head of steam up, he can be unplayable, Sammy Noor. And this time, the cross is deflected away. And Batteridis clears down the line. McGarry rolls it back to Richardson. Dusan Boshniak into the path of Troy Rutherford. First time shots on here, but he sends it well high over the bar out into the trees. It's Sammy Noor. I remember those Monday nights at Bulleen. I think it was 2017. Started the season, the first 7 or 8 weeks, he was scoring against everyone, scoring amazing goals. And then it just went sour very quickly. Went to Green Gully, didn't quite work out there. Went to Altona Magic. But that goal is just a reminder of when he's on song, what he can do.
Yeah, he's a confidence player, that's for sure. And at the moment, he's basically got Charlie Fry in his pocket. Charlie might be having nightmares if it continues like this. But look, that comes with not having much games under your belt. Sammy Noor's been getting a fair bit of a run in the Magic starting 11, apart from the last couple of weeks. But look, I think Charlie Fry's got enough games under his belt to cope with a player like Sammy Noor.
Now, before the goal, we were running through other scores around the grounds. Northcote City and Eastern Lions 0-0. That is in the 58th minute. And North Geelong and Melbourne Victory, 73 minutes, still 1-0. Earlier today, Brunswick City went 4-0 up against Ballarat. Ballarat got it back to 4-3 down at half-time. And then, obviously, both teams decided to defend in the second half because the final score was 4-3. In our other broadcast game earlier today, as we stay with Kaczynski here, and he loses possession of the ball. Melbourne City 3 away at the Veneto Club, Manningham United 0. So disappointing for Manningham. They are now looking squarely in the face of potentially dropping back to the 3rd tier if they can't get a big turnaround in form. We mentioned Green Gully 4, Pascoe 0. Moreland City 2, Whittlesea Rangers 1. So again, Whittlesea Rangers, massive issues for them as they stare down the barrel of being rezoned into the 3rd tier. And we're waiting on an update from Murray United and Box Hill United. Our mail is that it was a 0-0 draw. Here is Lambatteridis. Cross teasing there from Exidius. Great ball into the box. Arnold Saev now. He barely called his name in this game, the German. A little step over, and the ball back in comes unstuck. And Saev, last time he was here at Paisley Park, he was playing for Richmond in the FFA Cup last year. Altona Magic was not playing. It was Avondale. This was their home away from home in that round 7 game. And that night for Richmond, I think he put in a performance that would have stuck in the memories of many. And not a surprise that after he went home to Germany during the off-season, Bentleigh have brought him back to Australia. Yeah, I do remember that performance. It was quite impressive on the live stream that night. But one thing that is just notable at the last 10 minutes since the goal from Sammy Noor is that just how unsettled that the Greens are looking at the moment. They haven't, from what I can recall, had to chase a game in 2019. As we see ball down the right here. Kaczynski. Saw Sammy Noor, little chop pass, can't find Kaczynski. But then Webster's pass is intercepted. Richardson to Hemmon. And Mikel Hemmon trying to shoot, and it takes a big deflection, which drives it out for a corner kick. Altona remain on top as they try to double their lead. I thought he might have just hit a bobble there on the Paisley Park surface, but he's done well there to keep his side attacking for the time being. Still trying to find this Murray United versus Box Hill score. If you have caught wind of what the final result was, do let us know in the comments. Of course, it is important for both because the bottom 4 in NPL 2 East do get relegated. Here's the corner from McGarry. And Archibald couldn't quite get to the ball. El Mazi. Mika doing the defensive work, bursting through.
It's the first time this season that I think Bentleigh seem to be struggling with the set piece. Maybe the height of Hemman and Bosniak is causing a distraction because Charlie Fry's not the tallest. Neither is Jack Webster.
Got to play it down here, and it's Ross Archibald. So now it is Altona Magic's concerned to have an injury worry. Dr. Johnny Markov will be bursting off the bench to do the treatment here.
It's not what you want to see at this stage of the game. Still the first half. Really want to try and limit that substitution if you can. See if you can get through to half-time as he's getting the knee check. That's the traditional ACL check.
Gee, that is a worry then if they're having to do that check on him. James is suggesting that it was definitely 0-0 between Murray and Box Hill. Yet to see confirmation from either club though, James. So if you're going off the Football 24 app like me, don't take that to the bank just yet, because sometimes getting a data collector up to the border can prove beyond even Football 24. So we wait here for Archibald to get back to his feet.
Surely there's a university student up there that's doing something for him.
Well,
a multimedia student or something.
I know that Goulburn Valley Suns have been unhappy that we haven't done one of their games for the NPL 2 streaming, but the issue is not so much who's already there, it's transporting the gear to do the live stream up to the border. That is the issue. We've done Murray United twice this year because they were the away team. We're going to be doing Ballarat next week for the first time, as we see a player fall over in Bosniak. But Goulburn Valley Suns, they just haven't been the away team in the right game for us yet, but it will happen. So don't stress too much. Here is a pass for Mika. Tried to hit it first time, twisting on the ball. Didn't really get any purchase on it though. Kaczynski. And that pass sets a task for both Webster and Noor. And Noor almost timed that to perfection, ghosting in from the blind side. A lot of shouting. Just a lot of old man shouting, I think that sounded like from the outer side. It's amazing
the Macedonian shout.
It's amazing how people get worked up over throw-ins, isn't it? It's the one decision that, because it's right up against the line, people have a bird's eye view to it, and they've had a bird's eye view to this, which is going to be the first card of the game for Johnny Stajewski, going through in a physical fashion. Hadn't had a booking to this point, but 10 minutes before half-time, as good a time as any for George Lacrindis to produce a card.
There is a little bit of spice in this now. You can just see Sammy Noor and Jack Webster still having words about a throw-in of all things, but I think the goal from Sammy Noor was a great finish. You'll have to rewind your last room once we finish here into 90 minutes and check that out as you see Jack Webster on the ball here.
So free kick after the first yellow card. Of course, if you've got Facebook or YouTube open, you can just wind it back to the 26th minute and be your own replay official. I always tell people to use Facebook because you've got the 10-second rewind button, which has been fantastically handy for me. And a lot of the other commentators as well doing the streaming games. Richardson's throw. Bosniak. Thurtell. Over the shoulder. Saev. Thurtell. Exidius. Back to Charlie Fry. Ryan Scott. First time clearance. Didn't want to take the extra touch. With Kaczynski lurking. Now McGarry against Lambatteridis. Hemman. McGarry. Playing it through the left side, and then touch is taken by Webster to hit the touchline and go wide. Flicked on by Mitrovic. Clever. Is this an opening for the Bentleigh Greens? Lambatteridis heard the shouts of Exidius from left back. So James Exidius cuts it in. Saev. Lambatteridis. This is as good as Bentleigh have looked on the ball all game. It's whipped over to the left, from left to right. Mitrovic is going to let fly and at least find the gloves of Daniel Collison, but nothing too troubling for the goalkeeper.
I'm a bit surprised there that Dusan Bosniak, you might have seen him on the shot there, just basically is sort of standing in the middle, just walking back, not too concerned. And I know Goran Loznovsky was up in arms, singing out his name, saying to react to it. But yeah, a bit surprising there because they have been defensively sound in the opening stages of this half.
So maybe now a shift in just general play as Bentleigh look as good as they have for the course of this match. Charlie Fry. Mika. Now Fry's long ball here. Thurtell's going to be chasing from well back against Archibald, and it's ushered over the line as the shadows start to creep across the ground here. The lights all have taken full effect. Of course, daylight savings ends overnight, so it's going to get darker and colder in the NPL pretty quickly. Official score, Box Hill 3, Murray United 0. Thank you to former board member, now must follow Twitter personality Nick Ciaris for getting that one through to us. Good result for Bocky. Never an easy road trip away to Murray. Richardson. And Webster, an agricultural challenge, and then a little bit of afters as well. Hemmen, just see the orange boots. It's almost a little bit of David Beckham against Diego Simeone there. They've both got to be careful.
Yeah, and I think that was a smart bit of play there from Mikel Hemmen, the international player for the Magic, using his experience there. And Jack Webster, known as a physical centre-back in the league, and obviously done his homework and just trying to get it under his skin a little bit.
So Rutherford's free kick is just a drift up, and Ryan Scott comes through to claim. Altona have lost their impetus going for a second at the moment. Game on Bentleigh's terms. Can they find an equaliser? Holmes, Mika to Mitrovic. It's all a little bit hectic in this passage of play. And yet, Exidius may still make it work. He can't get there before the line, in spite of his best efforts. Hear the applause and the noise coming through the effects microphone, which is positioned on the broadcast tower here at Paisley Park. Brilliant job that Altona Magic have done. Part of being in the top flight is
Magic
having the facility together. Maybe I shouldn't have alerted people to the fact it's there, as we had a bit of additional special comments. As Stajewski, 1 assist already. Low ball for Boschniak. He's able to turn and face and then scoop the shot, not to his liking as it sails out.
Yeah, Bosniak looking for the far post option. He's getting a bit more space. He didn't have too much in the opening minutes of the first half here, but starting to find his groove a bit. Dusan Bosniak, he's not one player that you do want to give that sort of space to because he can cause some damage.
Mark is saying that the pitch here is better than the one at the SCG for the Big Blue. Well, might open up the stream and have a look then, because Mark, I know you're a big supporter of the NPL, but I think trying to claim this one is well, I'm going to have to see the SCG pitch first.
There was an NRL game on there the other night, and it didn't look too crash hot, and the Swans have been complaining. If the Swans are complaining about the SCG, there must be issues. So
you wouldn't want to play rugby league on this field. There's quite a few ground patches where it might be a heavy landing. Jack Webster. Long ball, El Mazi. Just a cushioned header, but out it goes over the fence. You can see the other pitch out the back here, just peeking out from behind the rooms. That's Altona East Phoenix's ground, of course.
And actually a really good surface as well.
Of course, they're in State League 2 at the moment, Altona East, having fallen on hard times with relegation out of State League 1 a couple of years ago. Now that the NPL is connected to the rest of the football pyramid, State League 1 is certainly hotly contested at the moment. Southeast, anyone's guess. As we see a through ball here, Mika hits Saev. Can he pull the trigger though, Arnold? Saev! And it's cleared off the line. Elmazi had to be there. That was on target. That was going in. And Arnold Saev is denied.
And I thought he might have pulled the trigger on first attempt there, and I thought he might have lost his opportunity with the side on goal, but he did well to get that second bite and a strike away, and a good clearance on the line there by Elmazi.
Corner kick. And Saev, who had that chance a second ago, denied. Holmes. Ruthven always hurt himself as he wins the header, and he's down, and that was a non-contact injury as he twisted in the turf. And he knew that something was wrong even before the ball hit his head, so this is a worrying moment.
Yeah, it is very unlike Ruthven to go down unless he's injured. He's used to copping a bit of a knock. You see the replay, it looks like he's got caught in the Paisley Park pitch.
So we wait now for Dr. Johnny Markov to assess the injury here. Looks like it's an ankle rather than a knee, which would, I assume, be better news.
Well, knee injuries do run in the family, Teo. I'll give you that. Myself and my mum, or mine and Troy's mum, has both on ACLs.
It's not good.
Well, not for Troy's sake, anyway.
No, don't like hearing that. In the comments, actually, Robbie asks if I know that Troy's brother is with me in commentary tonight. Yes, I do know that.
That is correct.
Yes.
G'day, Robbie.
Thank you, Robbie. And the ankle is able to bear weight, so the magic spray or whatever treatment has been administered has clearly worked, and this will add to stoppage time. Be interesting to see how many minutes are shown by the fourth official. Of course, we had Jack Webster down for a bit. For the most part, it's been a game without too many delays, though. It's been a real ebb and flow to it with who's been on top and the way the game has gone. It's given us a bit of everything, hasn't it? Yeah,
Magic were on top for the first 20 or so, but it's definitely, since the goal to the Magic and Sammy Noor, it was a great finish. It's kind of evened out a bit more.
So, like Jack Webster, Ruthven is able to return to the action, and indeed it will be 3 more minutes before half-time. And before I go and check out the Kabapi on the outer side here. It's a healthy crowd in for this one. The wind has eased up. It's about as still as it's been all game, just as it was starting to get really blustery too.
Well, you put your jacket on.
I did put the jacket on.
I'm holding out till half-time.
Mitrovic. Holmes. Lampadaridis is going to load up and go for it. And at both ends, we've seen some ambitious long shots that haven't been anywhere near the target. That continues the trend.
Just the technique, I think, with Lampadaridis. That's his second chance tonight now, and the first one was that sweeping traditional shot that we do see from him across the face of goal. But that one there, just a bit of poor technique. He is one of the more skillful players and better technically gifted players in the NPL, but just letting him down there a bit.
Boschnak against Webster. Ooh, and that was accidental from McGarry, but he's caught Mika in a sensitive area, right on the hip.
We've got 3 players down. We've also got Jack Webster and Dusan Bosniak down.
And so Altona's trainers and Bentleigh's trainers run on. And McGarry, because it was facing towards the camera, it maybe looked a little bit worse than it actually was, because I don't think he was to know that the player was coming in from his blind side there, and he's collected him. This is going to be injury time here. Just the one goal, but what a goal. Sammy Noor with the strike. And if you had a goal worthy of winning the game, it's that one. Hopefully it's not the only one. We want a bit more entertainment and action here, but that's the moment of quality. And probably one of the clubhouse leaders for goal of the season based on the 4 that are in the March goal of the month, which is going to be posted on the NPL social media this week, one of which was scored by Urson Kaya for Hume City right here at this ground.
Well, that's one thing that we haven't been short of in the NPL this season, is a lot of spectacular goals. You get a lot of tap-ins, a lot of penalties and whatnot, but we've definitely had some that are worthy of a highlights reel for the campaign for 2019.
So Webster, for the second time in this game, speaking to Brian Robertson, the physio. He's going to leave the ground, so now there's haggling about who's standing where, who's doing what. Altona trainers are having to run off the pitch quite quickly. If we come to an accord, are we ready to restart play? It's going to be plenty of first half stoppage then. Tyson Holmes. And a little hand in the back from Archibald on Fry, who didn't know where the ball was landing. Thurtell and Fry still challenging. Lambatteritis with a high boot. And the referee says, enough's enough. Let's go to the sheds. Let's have half-time. And the Bentleigh Greens go in behind. Sammy Nua's goal the difference. It is Altona Magic 1, Bentleigh Greens 0. Bryce Rutherford, wrap up the first half.
Yeah, it's been a good display of, I suppose, ball possession football here at Paisley Park, which is something that we haven't been used to seeing on this type of surface. But look, Altona had the better chance in the opening 20, got the goal, and then since then it's become an even playing field. And be interesting to see how Bentleigh react to this, because they haven't gone in, as far as I'm aware, this year, down a goal at half-time. So see how they come out from the sheds.
Stay with us. You'll have the countdown clock on your screen for second half action. When we return, the second half here from Paisley Park, where it is Altona Magic 1, Bentleigh Greens 0. Welcome back to Paisley Park in Altona. As you can see from the pictures, the players beat the referees back onto the field by a good minute or so. But now the referees are in place and we're ready to get the second half underway. Altona Magic 1, leading the Bentleigh Greens 0. George Lacrindis, our official, restarts the action. Teo Pellizzeri, my name, Bryce Rutherman, with me in commentary. And at the start of this second half, can Altona go on with the job? Or can this depleted Bentleigh Greens team hit back as Kaczynski, with the aid of a deflection, has scored seconds into the second half. And Daniel Kaczynski, with the aid of a deflection, makes it 2-0. And the halftime talk for the Bentleigh Greens flies out the window as Altona double their lead.
Yeah, they were out early, the Greens, and having a bit of a huddle chat, and Kaczynski's just put an absolute shock through the Green system, and Ryan Scott caught off guard, not of his own fault, but couldn't adjust to get the ball in time, and it was a good bit of play in the end there by Kaczynski.
And the deflection off Jack Webster, I mean, he nearly got there anyway. But that's a tough break for the Bentleigh Greens. And Altona, whatever concerns they may have had, now are eased by a 2-goal buffer. And the Canadian, Kaczynski, with the adrenaline pumping. To Johnny Stajewski. They couldn't score 2 in the first minute, could they? They can't. Just looking back on the stream as to exactly what second the ball hit the back of the nets. May have even caught out our screen graphics, so quickly was the goal at the start of the second half. 14 seconds, Bryce. There you go. It's got to be one of the quickest start of second half goals that's ever been scored. And, well, I was going to ask you, what direction do you think the game's going to go? Let's factor a second goal into that now for Bentleigh, who are chasing this game.
Well, I did call a 2-1 victory to the Magic, so at the moment I could be on target for that, but I think there's a lot more goals in this game because the wind's sort of picked up again down at ground level, and both teams will want to get on the ball as much as possible in the second half and get those attacking threats going.
Went over to the outer side during the halftime break. Don't be alarmed, but they were out of Kabupi.
No way.
I grabbed the last one before they had to throw a whole new slab of them on the barbie. So 55-minute mark, if you're hungry and you're watching in the ground, that would be the perfect time to just roll back over to the food stall.
Well, I'm waiting for the end of 90 minutes.
I think
fingers crossed they still got some left.
if the home team get a win, I wouldn't be surprised if it's big celebrations. It's probably a good time as we approach our 7 p.m. kickoffs. Dandenong Thunder and Port Melbourne is underway. We've got Hume City and Avondale. Second time I've done that tonight. Hume City and Avondale playing each other as well. So we have Gerendaris playing it to Mitrovic. Is this Bentleigh's avenue back into the game? Gerendaris can't beat El Mazi to the ball. And now the second goal scorer, Kaczynski, caught by Mitrovic.
I think one player too, Taylor, that's really stepped up tonight has been El Mazi at the back. He's in his first season of NPL football, and he's found some time to find his feet, but I think tonight he's really stepped up to the mark. One of the league's best markmen.
It's a good shout because he was there in State 1 and then NPL 2, but it's a fairly unforgiving league, the top division, as we see a raking cross in here. Collison came out, the clearance instead. Holmes. Bentleigh have not been daunted by falling 2-0 down here. You can see them aggressing again. Zidius played it to Lambatteridis and now back to Holmes.
Do you think there's any emotional toll maybe carrying over from last week's victory with 9 men over Oakley?
Gee, it was a crazy night. You were there, Bryce, in terms of how it was received at full time. Was it just another win, or could you clearly see that it meant that little bit more to Bentleigh having won in such a wild game with 3 goals and 3 red cards in the last 10 minutes?
Now, having been to a few Bentleigh games in the past couple of years, I don't think I've seen Bentleigh celebrate a win as much as they did that 3-2 victory with the 9 men. Obviously, it was a very late winner.
Against who it was as well. The two teams, Oakley and Bentleigh, hate each other, let's be honest.
Yeah, there's no love lost there.
In the A-League, it's 2-2 between Newcastle and Western Sydney. 0-0 between Avondale and Hume, and also Dandenong and Port Melbourne, which gives us a chance to look at the table. Avondale, if they were to draw tonight, stay with Kaczynski. against Garandaris. Cut central, Hemmen has space, but it's closed down quickly by Lambateridis. Now McGarry. Troy Rutherford in space, loves a long shot, takes the long shot, and that one just kept going across the face, and now it is Charlie Fry's turn to go down hurt. He's holding his shin here after, I think he ran into the shooting leg. He's able to get back up. But Avondale live table on 22. Heidelberg after winning last night on 16. Bentleigh Greens, if they are defeated tonight, will stay on 16. And the goal difference has gone one worse than that of Heidelberg now, so they'd actually fall to third. Knights on 15 in fourth. Gully on 13 in fifth after their win today. And Altona Magic, if they win this match, would be in sixth on 13 points, ahead of Hume City on 11 if they were to draw tonight. Thunder on 10. Pascoe Vale 10 after their loss today. South Melbourne on 10 after their win last night. Port Melbourne in the lowest safe position on 7 points. Oakley in the Pro-Roll playoff spot on 5. And then in the drop zone, Kingston on 5. And Dandenong City last on the table on 4.
I'm very surprised to see Kingston City there, because watching the stream last night of Heidelberg and Kingston, they put up one hell of a battle at Olympic Village. Not an easy place to go and get some points from. They fell short at the end, but I've been impressed with Nick Tyler's men. They've been quite strong in all areas of the park, even when they've lost men for injuries or suspensions. But yeah, I'm a bit surprised to see where they are on the ladder at the moment.
Well, the Kingston model has been get the points in the bank as a safeguard. This year they're going to have to do it differently, because you think of, in particular, Oakley's late equaliser against them. If they win that Monday night game, who knows, maybe they don't beat South Melbourne the week after, but you just feel like that could be so important in the long run. Conceding a late equaliser, conceding a bit of a soft goal for the equaliser last night for 2-2, and then Heidelberg scored a very good winner to take the game 3-2. McGarry, Lambateridis, Holmes, the gold medalist. Mika left the ball, but left it for Richardson. Now Lambateridis. There's a real intent to Bentleigh's play at the moment. They are trying to peg one of these 2 goals back. Mitrovic. And that cross, it's about the best one we've seen from the right side of the pitch tonight, because most of them have been catching the wind, Bryce, but at least that one forced a defensive header. And in fact, play stays alive. Sammy Noor buzzing about, but can't take the ball. Holmes. And Richardson, second interception in this phase of play, but gives possession right back. Mika.
I think one thing that Altona have to be very mindful of is not trying to, as people say, park the bus in this mentality, because a side like Bentleigh, they can destroy you when you park the bus. So they've got to really keep trying to open up Bentleigh on the attack and really counter-attack that transition phase, because they've had some cheap turnovers tonight, Bentleigh, which is very uncharacteristic for the green side, but there's opportunities there for Altona to keep really pushing forward here if they want to.
It's a good point you raise, because, again, in NPL 2 last season, there were plenty of easy outs. I mean, Altona Magic, they lost at home to some of the teams who finished quite low on the table come the end of the season. In the top division, you can't put 2-0 in the bank and sit back and the opposition won't ask any more questions of you. You're right, if they invite Bentleigh on here, Bentleigh will, even this depleted Bentleigh team, will find a way back into the game. Kaczynski.
Stayed in.
And again, haggling over a throw-in is as passionate as we've seen either manager get tonight. Goran Lozanovski wasn't happy about the last decision before this one. Rutherford, there can be no complaints here as the ball bends out once again. Just listening into the effects microphone there. Sounds as though Jack Webster wasn't happy with Hemmen raising his hands. I guess Hemmen wouldn't care much for the reputation of Jack Webster, probably wouldn't even know about him.
No.
Just another defender, and yet Jack Webster holding court against the new guy here. And George Lacrindis has done an outstanding job refereeing this game, because he hasn't really got time for any of the squabbles, does he?
And I had a chat to Michael Hemmen after a match the other week at Kingston, and very nice and calm sort of personality, so it's good to see him sort of fire up a bit tonight, because we haven't really seen that from him so far. That's been one thing out of his game we've missed, is that real physicality and getting stuck in. He's good with the ball at his feet. very skillful, can finish the ball, but yeah, we've kind of seen a new side of Michael Hammond tonight, I think.
I guess if there's one defender that's going to bring that out of you, it's Jack Webster. Bentleigh enjoying a good spell of possession at the moment. Gerendaris. What can the youngster conjure up? Switches back out to the right. Mitrovic. Probing left-footed cross and skims off the head of Saev. Out for a goal kick.
Maybe that's a ploy of Lozanovsky to get under the skin of Jack Webster, because he is known to lose his temper a bit and can attract a yellow card, sometimes even a red for maybe a rash challenge here and there. It has happened in seasons gone by, so maybe that's one thing Lozanovsky's identified into the game, especially attacking to try and upset the experienced captain of the Greens.
Looking at the benches for both teams, Altona with of their outfielders, Robert Namoski, Yasin Noor, Marino Gasparis and Sam Mitchinson available. Bentleigh Greens, Tristan Mika, Tom Fogarty, Will Demanis and Stefanos Gerondaris. So, not sure if and when Bentleigh will turn to the bench, given the relative inexperience. That was an important block from Stajewski to stop Thurtell's pass.
And that's been a difference tonight, I think, Teo. Those moments like that one there for Altona, they've just, those 1%ers that can really change a game. If that ball goes through, they're on 1-on-1 at goal and potentially 2-1 on the scoreboard. So just those little 1%ers tonight for Altona has really kept them in this game and put them ahead 2-0 on the scoreboard.
Gerendaris. Mika to Webster. Xidius closed down, but Charlie Fry will win the ball back. They're enjoying a lot of time in possession at the moment, the Bentleigh Greens. Hit after just 14 seconds of this second half by Altona's second goal of the game. Webster. Off the head of Stajewski. And Elmazi outpoints Thurtell. Solid header from Archibald. An exchange of headers back and forth. Xidius. Saev. Tyson Holmes. Webster now, decision time. Goes for the ball up the middle. Off the head of Elmazi. Gerendaris. Chance to go wide from John Anastasiadis. Gerendaris just keeps the ball himself. And rolls onto Saev, cutting it back. Bit of a blind pass. And it evades all the other green shirts in the area. Hammond. Plays it to McGarry. Trying to send it through the right side, McGarry, but well defended. Tyson Holmes into the path of Xidius.
McGarry's taken the wrong option there. He had space on the left for Daniel Kaczynski, the second goal scorer, and really he was through to goal if he played that pass. And I think he even had looked to the left-hand side towards the camera and just maybe didn't think he could pick him out, wasn't confident enough, and went the short side, and it's a cheap turnover in the end.
Newcastle have taken a 3-2 lead against Western Sydney in the A-League. Go around the grounds in the NPL in a moment. Here's a through ball, and Bentleigh hopes are dashed by the offside flag for Saev.
Yeah, right call there from the linesman. Just a touch ahead of the mark there. It was a great ball from Mitrovic to try and pick out the attacker, but just the timings weren't right.
So around the grounds, 12 minutes gone at the Thunderdome. Down and on Thunder 0, Port Melbourne 0. And 18 minutes gone at ABD Stadium. Hume City 0, Avondale 0. In NPL 2, Northcote 1 defeated Eastern Lions 0. So big result for the chasing pack in NPL 2 East, because Eastern Lions were top and have lost today. Melbourne Victory, a 1-0 win away at North Geelong Warriors. That's a bad loss for North Geelong against a Victory team that have been up and down so far this season. And confirming that it was Box Hill United winning 3-0 away on the border against Murray United. 7 o'clock kickoff, Goulburn Valley Suns against Lang Warren.
And Box Hill is going to be making a trip here on Good Friday for the FA Cup game against Altona Magic.
Clear favourite, clear underdog in that tie, you'd have to say. Some of those FFA Cup ties could be potential banana skins, as Rutherford here picks out Fry with his pass, and then Sammy Noor. Great endeavour to go and win the ball back. Only goal scorer in the game so far, along with Kaczynski, of course. Can Altona make it 3? McGarry wins the throw.
I've been quite impressed with McGarry tonight. He's really stepped up. Last couple of weeks might have been a little bit quiet in terms of what he's capable of, but tonight he's really stepped up. Obviously, being a former Hume City player from seasons gone by, the rivalry there between Hume and Bentleigh. Obviously, it's one of his favourite teams to play against.
Here's Hemmen, really good on the turn. Great strength. Boschniak. That's where he's good, Dusan Boschniak. The shot with no time or space, but can't hit the target.
They're linking up well tonight, Mikael Hemmen and Bosniak. Last week in particular, wasn't really working for the two attacking threats, but tonight they've definitely been on level par in terms of what they're doing with the runs forward. As
the game drifts, Bryce, I might get your thoughts on some of these FFA Cup ties that are coming up. Sammy Noor here battling against Exidius. Through the left side. In the cross to no one in particular. Easy pickings for Collison.
Had a pretty quiet night so far. Collison in his first game back in the starting 11 for Altona.
I don't think you'll mind that too much, to be honest. So round 4 gets started on the 10th of April, which is Wednesday, with Upfield and Sky United, a couple of State League teams. But as far as the NPL involvement, it's not until Wednesday, the 17th of April, that we start getting our first midweek ties. And in terms of upset watch, one that I'm intrigued by, Oakley Cannons versus Beau Morris. With Oakley currently, I mean, they're not, I suppose you're not really in a relegation battle until after the transfer window closes, but they're in the bottom 3 at the moment. Do you think the FFA Cup could suffer as a result, and could State 1 Beau Morris actually knock off Oakley, or do you think Oakley are still a bit too strong for a team 2 divisions below?
And that's at Beau Morris, isn't it?
No, it's at Oakley. No, it is at Beau Morris. Beau Morris Secondary College.
Yeah, so that's the synthetic pitch there, as far as I know. And look, Beau Morris have got some good attacking plays. They're doing all right at the moment in State League 1 too. So I think could be a potential banana skin there if Oakley don't show up, or decide for whatever reason to try and rest players. I don't know if they're in a position to rest any players at the moment, but maybe that could be one thing that Oakley look to target this year, the FA Cup.
Tangle of legs, free kick, and of course it's the Doherty Cup too, so there is a trophy for the Victorian element of it. What about Heidelberg giving up home ground advantage? They're going to play away at Keilor Park on Wednesday the 17th. So again, Keilor Park, a State League 1 team, Heidelberg defending NPL champions. You'd think this is straightforward, but for whatever reason, they didn't want to play at Olympic Village, so they've just said to Keilor Park, all right, we'll go play at your place.
No, I like what they've done there, Heidelberg, giving away that home ground advantage, because, let's be honest, they're probably going to get a victory, but it's a good opportunity for a team like Keilor Park to host a team like Heidelberg and hopefully attract a few friends through the gate.
El Mazi with a header. Bentleigh trying to clear their lines. A third goal and it might just be lights out, even though Bentleigh have shown some real hustle in this second half after falling 2-0 down. El Mazi stayed forward and wins a corner kick. What about Melbourne Knights Mooralbark? Mooralbark in State League 2. No risk here. Knights Stadium.
Yeah, no, I think Melbourne Knights will get that one comfortably. They've shown some improvement this year. They've always been there and abouts, but I think this year they've got something with the addition of Hamish Watson, the former Wellington Phoenix striker up there. I think they've got a few good options going forward.
So corner kick for James McGarry. And that one's low into the near post and cleared. Rutherford comes across, back to McGarry. Slows to a walk and then loads up the cross. Flick headed by Kaczynski and ushered into the hands of Ryan Scott, who is trying to launch a counter-attack. Mitrovic. We'll see that the Altona defence all got back in position. Thurtell, legs Archibald, free kick.
And two good mates there going at it for the ball, and both Queenslanders, good mates here in Melbourne as well, and it's one battle that they're definitely going to want to get over each other.
Thursday the 18th, Hume City against Mill Park. You'd think that one is
Hume City for that one.
straightforward. No risk to the top division team there.
Nah, Hume would be comfortable with that one, I think.
South Melbourne versus Essendon Royals. That's being played on Good Friday at Lakeside Stadium, so South get to go back to Lakeside next weekend. They've got Hume City on Sunday, and then they'll turn around on Good Friday and play Essendon Royals, as we see an attempted through ball here. Essendon Royals in State League 1. South Melbourne not going great guns at the moment. Gee, that would be a massive upset still if they were to be knocked out by the Essendon Royals, though.
I could call that one as a bit of an upset. I think the trip to Lakeside for Essendon, they might live for the occasion, because not every day of the week that they get to play on a surface like Lakeside. So I think Essendon, they'll be up for that one.
Lambataritis through the right side, being chased by Rutherford coming across. His attempt into the area is picked off by Archibald. And now Stajewski to McGarry. Altona just need to spend a bit of time on the ball here, because it still feels as though the game in general play is on Bentleigh's terms, even though the scoreboard very much favours the Magic, as that one was doing its best to attack the TV tower. Got a great vantage point here at Altona Magic. Can't credit the club enough for building this structure. Certainly beats filming from the old dugout, or the roof of the media box, which was the arrangement in previous years. What about Avondale versus Mazenod victory? You'd think that after going all the way to the quarterfinals last year, there's no way Avondale are going to go out to it.
Yeah, and they've started the NPL season very strongly as well, so a bit of a tough one there for Mazenod, unfortunately, but Avondale will definitely look to get back to that round of 32 stage again at least.
Now, Bentleigh Green's got a bit of an interesting tie. Away to Warragul. Now, they should win, but it's more the road trip, and you being a Gippsland-based individual, Bryce, I suspect that you're going to go watch a game, and it might be that one.
Yeah, it's out our way, so I think Bentleigh, I think they'll be too strong. One thing they might struggle there, though, with is the pitch. It's a bit of a clay surface there. Now,
not actual clay.
It is
grass on clay?
Grass on
okay,
clay.
Great.
But if it's a wet day, it's a very tricky and sticky place to play, having played in that pitch myself. So it's potential banana skin, but I think Bentleigh will be pretty comfortable in that fixture.
And maybe one of the other upset specials, Bulleen Lions against Sandown Lions. Sandown Lions from State League 4. Bulleen, who beat Springvale White Eagles 5-1 in NPL 2 today to get their season back on track. I just like that because it's Battle of the Lions. And
well, I've actually got a boy in my team out in the Latrobe Valley that's come from Sandown Lions.
Here's a giveaway. Hemmon trying to capitalise. Altona sweep forward. Bentleigh trying to backtrack. And McGarry turns away from the box as a result. Rutherford, central ball. Holmes. Well, Sammy Noor had a nibble. Couldn't take the ball. And so Holmes prevails. But he doesn't like the options ahead of him. Tried to play it to Mitrovic, but he's shut down immediately by Elmazi. A few gaps opening, a bit of end-to-end at present. Kaczynski, and Elmazi's continued his run. Sammy Noor calls for it at the far post. Elmazi obliges, but the cross is not on the money.
Yeah, all about from a cheap turnover there from Bentleigh. One thing that we haven't really said too much in live streams on Facebook and YouTube, and basically referring to the Bentleigh Greens and that sort of style. But yeah, there's something that Altona have done tonight. They've tweaked their system a little bit, putting a lot of pressure into the midfield, which is lacking a bit of experience with a few youngsters going through there, and particularly on the right-hand side. And yeah, it's working for him.
Richardson. Hemmon is really getting involved in general play a lot more in this half, Mikel Hemmon. Coming a lot deeper for the ball. The lights have now started to take full effect. The dim, fading light has now given way to the artificial here at Paisley Park. And time is starting to become the enemy of the Bentleigh Greens as well. News of a goal at ABD Stadium. Hume City 0, Avondale 1. Liam Boland becomes the first player to double-figure goals this season with yet another penalty. So he won't care. But Avondale on track to go 8 from 8 unless Hume can come back tonight.
You've got to give some credit to penalty takers. It takes a lot of courage to step up there. I know it's not a long shot, but there's a lot of pressure on you from that position there, because really it's a 50-50, and a goalkeeper, for example, like Ryan Scott, really well at saving penalties. So Liam Boland's had a good start to the season with Avondale, and he's one player that might be looking for Western United to give his phone a call.
Well, certainly if he ends up winning the Golden Boot in NPL Victoria, he'd think it'd be almost a necessity. So you can hear the fourth official switching the numbers on the board, because Sam Mitchinson has been readied for Altona, and it looks as though Bentleigh are getting a sub-ready as well. Bryce, as you crane your eyes over the bar of our structure to just have a look at who it might be.
Number 44. There's a 44.
So as play stops over on the outer side, we're going to see a card here for Mikel Hemmon. He's got himself into trouble, and you mentioned earlier in the half Jack Webster getting under his skin. This time it seems as though Charlie Fry's been the target of whatever merited a yellow card.
Well, one thing I have noticed in the last 10 minutes since that little disagreement between Mikel Hemmon and Jack Webster is that he's actually gone and switched on to Charlie Fry. So, don't know if I was Mikel Hemmon if that was the right move, because he was really giving Jack Webster a bit of grief, which not too many strikers have done in the NPL. So, maybe that could be something that Lozanovsky looks at the remaining 15-20 minutes.
Well, as we approach the last 20 minutes, both teams have a sub waiting in the wings. Bentleigh would love to welcome them with a goal. Saev out of a 1-on-3. Holmes. Mitrovic. Can he find an outlet? Velibor Mitrovic. Thurtell, surrounded by Altona opponents. Hemmon. Well, that was the challenge of someone on a yellow. Holmes switching out to the left. Richardson misses the clearance, and that opens the door ever so slightly. But he goes and recovers and dispossesses Mika. And now possession is given away. Exidius to Holmes. Mitrovic. A lot of Altona numbers back. This is Gerendaris dispossessed. Kaczynski left the ball behind. Gerendaris trying to flick it on. It will be a Bentleigh throw, and we've already got one Gerendaris on the field. Now we're going to have two, because Stefanos Gerendaris is coming on. That's for Josh Mika. And Altona's change is the goal scorer in the first half, Sammy Noor, who is going to come off, and it is Sam Mitchinson who comes on. So Bryce, thoughts on those two subs?
Yeah, in terms of the Altona substitution there, a bit of a surprise. I think Sammy Noor had a good 45. It's been a little bit quiet to start the second half, but they haven't been using him as much. So maybe Lozanovsky's just thought get a defensively minded right-hand side for the Magic, and maybe looking to shore up that side, because they are getting a bit of relief in that left-hand side, Bentleigh, at the moment.
So Mitchinson will stand in front of Callum Richardson, who remains at right back. Interesting switch. They've essentially got two right backs over on that side of the field now. This is Saev holding the ball up. Webster. Saev. Quick 1-2 with Webster, but they're not advancing the ball forward, the Bentleigh Greens. Altona keeping them at a safe distance. Holmes. Plays it through the left and then intercepted by Richardson. Blazing away onto the roof of the pavilion. It's going to bounce over the back to the Altona East Phoenix side. Pass into midfield is there to be won. Kaczynski, great vision on the turn. Hemmon, keepers off his line. Ryan Scott is out. Hemmon, can he steady? Can he finish? Yes, he can.
Great goal and great composure from Mikel Hemmon, drawing out Ryan Scott and going around him on his right-hand side, and he puts them 3-0 up. And Teo, is that game, set, match?
You suspect so. The Dutchman gets his goal. He has played angry at times tonight, but that will certainly put a big smile on his face, because you suspect that is 3 points in the bank for the Magic and another week in the top six for them as they go 3-0 up with just over 15 minutes to go.
And that play sums up Bentleigh's night here at Paisley Park. Just a cheap turnover and being caught out of position, and just the Magic taking their chances. And with 15 minutes left on the clock, it's definitely a couple more goals in this for Altona if they want to take the opportunity.
Well, where did that break down? Was it as simple as lack of judgment from the goalkeeper, or is it further up the pitch as the play evolved that we can perhaps apportion the criticism there for the third goal hitting the back of the net?
No, you can't blame Ryan Scott for that. He had to come out. He is known for coming a fair way out of his box, but he was a good 15-20 yards out of his box there. But
is it just the vision of Kaczynski to know that the pass was on too?
Yeah, that is. I think he's one of those players that definitely has an eye for a pass, and even being an attacking winger, he's got that in his game and in his locker as well that we just saw, and it's a moment of brilliance, puts him up 3-0. as we've got El Marzi down here. Maybe some gamesmanship. Went down holding the knee. Looking to give his side a bit of a breather.
Well, the comments have exploded. Some happy Altona Magic fans, that's for sure. And taking another look at the live table with Avondale leading Hume City 1-0. Currently 0-0 between Dandenong Thunder and Port Melbourne, and the score 3-0 in favour of Altona here. It means that Altona would hold on to 6th, and if the Dandenong Thunder were to win tonight, they would go level on points with Altona Magic, but they would have to win by 3, 4, 5 goals. So unless they absolutely catch fire, you suspect that Altona will hold on to 6th place. Hume City similarly. Well, I guess if they were to turn it around and win by a score of 3-1 against Avondale, they would rise up to 13 points and just pip the Magic for 6th. But for now, those two results are unlikely, as Hemmen hits the byline. Bentleigh concede a 4th, or if they concede more from this point, they might feel as though it's rough justice given the way that they have played in general play tonight, but the scoreboard does them no favours, does it, Bryce?
But do you think this result, if it stays as it is, Teo, puts Altona as one of the contenders, I suppose you could call it, for the premiership? Because I know that last week they were very disappointed to lose 4-1 to Heidelberg, even though it was away from Paisley Park, but they really saw that as an opportunity to make a statement in the league, having Heidelberg and Bentleigh 2 weeks in a row and having two of the strongest teams from years gone by and looking to get a positive result. The way it stands now, they're getting one out of Bentleigh, but last week probably put a few question marks over them.
Look, I think that their aim this season was to win the grand final. I don't think they came into the season thinking that they could finish top of the league over the course of 26 games. But I definitely think that their aim was to make the top 6 and then to win 2 in a row or 3 in a row and win the grand final. And I haven't, even though they were beaten comfortably in the end by Heidelberg last week, I haven't deviated from thinking that they are legitimate contenders, provided they make the top 6 to begin with.
Well, there is a big emphasis, obviously having a brother that's the captain of Altona, that they're on the FA Cup this year. They really want to try and use that as a bit of a platform to promote the club. Well, obviously, they've got a hierarchy here that see that as a good competition. They
really should have made the round of 32 last year. It was a bit of a surprise that Northcote rolled them in round 7 to go through to the round of 32, and Northcote, once they were there, were already about to get relegated and indeed lost to the Tasmanians from Devonport. So Altona would have seen that as a massive missed opportunity. Bentleigh are going to make their second change here. Tristan Mika is going to come on, so we're going to have 2 sets of we did have one brother earlier, Josh Mika, who was subbed off, so we've still got Marios and Stefanos Gerandaris on the pitch, but Josh Mika came off. Tristan Mika now comes on, and Matt Thurtell, he's got through 75 minutes pretty well.
Which, if you're watching the live stream last week against Oakley, you'd be very surprised he was even on the pitch tonight. So I think he's put in a pretty good shift. It wasn't his best performance, obviously carrying that ankle injury, but look, to get through 75 minutes, as you said, Tay, I think that's a good effort and keeps his fitness levels up.
Rutherford's free kick. Archibald with the chance. No power behind the header, and then it's cleared into him, but it wouldn't have counted.
I think it actually hit his hand when he was going down for the header.
Well, that would explain play being whistled dead. So next week, Friday night, Pascoe Vale against Melbourne Knights. Pascoe Vale coming off a 4-0 loss today, so they'll be smarting. Knights coming off 2 losses in a row as Altona Magic turn to the bench, and Yasin Noor is coming on for Dusan Boshniak. Is he? No, Boshniak's just coming over to get a drink. The sub that is being made is Daniel Kaczynski, who has an assist tonight, leaves the game. Yasin Noor comes on.
And he has had a good night. Kaczynski getting the second goal, 15 seconds or 14 seconds after the second half commenced. So it's been a good night for him, returning from injury in the last couple of weeks, getting back to full fitness, and definitely show what he's capable of tonight in the NPL.
This is Mario Skerendaris. Now Lambataritis into space, held up by Saev. Back to Mitrovic. No options that he likes ahead of the ball. Now Stefanos Gerandaris to Charlie Fry. Holmes. Switch of flanks. Mario Gerandaris. And that's a giveaway. McGarry It's not going to turn and go. Played it back to Richardson, who was forced to hurry the pass, and thus it goes well over the head of Yasin Noor. Also coming up, we've got news of a goal at Dackland Stadium, or George Andrews Reserve. Dandenong Thunder 1, Port Melbourne 0. That is big news. Visiting Port Melbourne, who hit their straps last week with a 5-1 win against...
Other way around, Teo. 1-0 to Port Melbourne.
Yep. Sorry, I have misspoken there. Port Melbourne have taken the lead away at Dandenong Thunder. So we're going to get that goal up and have a quick look at it here, because that is a big, big start to the game. It looks like, as we stay with play here for the Bentleigh Greens, it's going to be cleared by Stajewski. Yeah, might have been an own goal even. But 33rd minute, Port Melbourne take a 1-0 lead away from home.
Yeah, and Port Melbourne have been one of those sides that, a bit like Dandenong Thunder, you never know what you're going to expect from them when they show up to the ground, but they've got a lot of potential in their side.
Of course, those games were 7 o'clock kickoffs. This one at 6 p.m, so we're into the last 10 minutes here. Looking at next week, though, Dandenong City against Altona Magic. So they'll make the long trip across town. We've got an injury here to stop play. I guess there's not too much fear factor about playing Dandenong City's team. I suppose it's more the Friday afternoon trip across town all the way down to Endeavour Hills for many of these Altona players who would live in the west or even further west than where we currently are.
Well, I went and watched that game last year in NPL 2 when they played at Frank Holohan Reserve, and there was no fear about going there for the Magic. Last year they put in a very dominant performance and kind of set up their season when the East and West for NPL 2 was in. Obviously, Dandy City at the time were top of the Eastern Conference and Altona on top of the West. And
then they met in the NPL 2 grand final, and it's a revenge game for them of sorts, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think, I don't know if Altona took that game as serious as they probably could have. I know Ruth and he was away at a wedding, because I was at the same wedding with him. But yeah, they had a few players that decided to leave a week early on holidays and whatnot. But yeah, I think now that there's 3 points in the line in the NPL and the top league as well, they'll definitely go there looking to claim all 3. And I think myself and Demir Koulis were on that one next Friday night as well.
You are. Already been appointed for next week. Avondale have gone 2-0 up against Hume City. So Hume's bright start to the season just starting to fade a little bit here, as we see a sub going through, and on comes Robert Namoski for James McGarry. Change is made.
Yeah, impressive night for McGarry. He's been involved in a lot of the play tonight and a lot of the positive play too. Not too many mistakes, and earns an early shower from Gordon Lozanovsky.
So with the score here 3-0, we're going through the motions a little bit. Maybe just a question of Bentleigh repairing the goal difference, or Altona making an even bigger statement by adding a 4th here before we're done. Galandaris dispossessed. Hemmon plays it central, but that one is intercepted. The second Avondale goal, a powerful header at a set piece, and I suspect it's been chalked off. So Football 24's sold me a pud there, because it is still only 1-0 up at ABD Stadium. Got to be careful with those disallowed goals, don't you, Bryce?
You do. The data analysis.
Although
Football 24, they're normally pretty reliable.
Football 24 is saying it definitely is 2-0, so might have to continue just to keep an eye on this. Fascinating viewing, I'm sure, for you on the stream, especially if you're purely invested in this game and not in the broader NPL. Anyway, I imagine it's pretty hard to only watch one team a week and not care about the bigger picture and all the other games at the same time.
There's a lot of quality teams in the competition, so you're always keeping an eye on 2 matches at the one time.
And right now with the ball down at their defensive end, Altona Magic are just trying to keep a clean sheet here and take care of business. El Mazi with a volley away. Holmes backtracking. No, definitely only 1-0 to Avondale at ABD Stadium. So apologies if I got anyone excited out there. Continuing to look through the fixtures for next weekend, however. We've talked about Friday night. Saturday, Avondale versus Dandenong Thunder at Reggio Calabria, or Avenger Park as they call it. Heidelberg against the Bentleigh Greens. That's another of the fixtures that you always put in your diary. But given Bentleigh's result here and the current injuries for the team, well, they'll be thrilled if the suspensions for Yankovic and Alexander are 1 game only and they get them back. So we see a cross here, shimmy on the header, and it didn't ever actually get to Collison, the keeper, dealt with by the defence. Gerendaris loads up, and that one takes a big bounce. If that had been on target, it may have ended up being rather awkward for the keeper, but it goes out for a goal kick.
He almost caught him out, and I've been quite impressed with the youngster tonight, obviously making his starting debut in the NPL, and he hasn't shied away from the challenge. He's had a pretty tough task going up against Kaczynski and then the likes of Elmazi at the back there, but he hasn't shied away from it, and he's been quite positive.
The other Saturday game next week is at J.L. Murphy Reserve. It'll be Port Melbourne against the Oakley Cannons. Oakley still desperate for another win, but they're actually away from Jack Edwards Reserve for 5 consecutive league games, which is going to be a massive issue for them. As we see a diagonal ball here that is cleared initially from Tristan Mika, and then a free kick for Stajewski. Sunday, South Melbourne return in the league to Lakeside Stadium for the first time since round 1. They play against Hume City, and then on Monday night, Kingston City against Green Gully. And given Gully came off a 4-0 win, Kingston City coming off that 3-2 loss, they don't travel well to Kingston Gully, so that's going to be another high-rating, high-interest Monday night game. And we'll also mark Jordan Canellis' return to the microphone as well. Anyway, we're going through the dying minutes of this one. Altona too good tonight for the Bentleigh Greens. Fry. Holmes. And late contact from Boshniak. And an apology from Dusan Boshniak as he collects a yellow card. It's not the sort of tackle you might expect when your team is 3-0 up, to be honest.
So that might be the former Oakley coming out in him, I think, there. Obviously, Tyson Holmes being one of the marksmen for the Greens over the years. They've definitely done battles when Holmes has played in a deeper role, and I think that's just a bit of the old blue coming out in Dusan.
Well, it speaks to the mental strength of Tyson Holmes that he's just brushed that off and got back to his feet with, well, for now, no thoughts of retribution. I'm not sure if Dusan Boshniak's going to get too close to another 50-50 with Tyson Holmes before this game is out.
Tyson's a very smart player. He knows how to attract a card in opposition teams, that's for sure.
Well, the last thing that Altona would want at the end of what has been a memorable night for them would be a red card. Not least because they do go away to a desperate Dandy City next Friday.
It's been the first time in weeks that Altona have looked really settled. I think they've always had patches where they've played well in games but can't really put together a 90-minute performance, and I think tonight probably the closest they've gone all season, obviously against a very tough, maybe weakened opposition in the Bentleigh Greens, but still a good performance. And would you say, even though Bentleigh are missing some players, does it set a statement to the rest of the league?
I think for Altona it certainly does, because had they lost 2 in a row to Heidelberg and Bentleigh, I think a lot of people might have been ready to just say they're in the next level down. They're not actually one of the genuine contenders. As we see Mitchinson get through the left here. Hemmings on his bike in the middle. Mitchinson tries to pick him out but can't connect. And the cross goes out for a throw. I suppose if Avondale do win tonight and go 8 from 8, with Knights losing, with Bentleigh losing, they continue to stretch their gap at the top of the league, and yet so many of their results have been close or just winning by the odd goal that it doesn't feel like we're watching a super team that's going to blitz the rest of the league. If anything, it actually feels as though Avondale's next loss or maybe even a little slump isn't that far away, but the results speak for themselves. They keep winning.
Yeah, well, that's a championship winning mentality, really. Winning the game by 1 or 2 goals, that sets you up for a good season. And yeah, 8 from 8, if that's how it goes, then yeah, you can't complain if you're part of the coaching staff there, because they've been impressive. They've been playing good football too. That's the main thing. They haven't been looking to play really direct. They're one of the better passing teams in the competition this year. And
I get the feeling that if they'd scored a third against Melbourne Knights last week, the floodgates might have opened, but they overcooked or were denied by some saves and desperate defending. Aidan Bryce quite a few times last Saturday. And so in the end, they walk away winning 2-1. Melbourne Knights say, we got 6 yellow cards from 10 fouls and had a player sent off in the first half, and we only lost 2-1. And I think a lot of people came out of that game thinking that it was, Knights were close. Knights would have got a result had it been 11 versus 11. And yet, had Avondale not overcooked some of the chances they had, they could just as easily have been 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. So I think that maybe it's more just a fan base thing. There are plenty of Knights fans out there supporting their team, whereas Avondale don't exactly have the same level of following willing to proliferate social media and sort of set the narrative of how people react to a game.
And they have been going about their business fairly quietly. Obviously, the results put them in talking terms of being a top team this year, but as you just said, they go about their business very quietly and they're happy to let the football do the talking.
So we're almost into stoppage time of this one now. Don't forget you've got 2 more live games to enjoy for the rest of the evening once we're done here. Fry's header. Who's your player of the match, Bryce, as we see 5 minutes of additional time?
It's a tough one. I don't think there has been a standout performance for Altona. I think it's probably their first performance where they've all worked as an 11. We've had players like Ruthven and McGarry and Archibald and Mikel Hemmon, even you could include him, doing the odd step up to help them through. But I think tonight it's just been an all-round team performance. I think Kaczynski, when he was on, he was dangerous. Even with his runs off the ball, he was creating space for the likes of Mikel Hemmon. Even Sammy Noor in the first half was quite impressive too.
Bentleigh through the left side, cut back, is going to be chased down. Tristan Mika lost his feet at the crucial moment, and thus the attack breaks down. Rather than off the outside of the boot to Yasin Noor.
What about you, Teo?
Gee, I think Kaczynski's a pretty good shout, given that he scored the second and set up the third. Was involved in a lot of build-up play as Normoski gives the ball away here. I suppose they've kept a clean sheet, and you rightly praised Liram El-Mazi earlier in the game. Wouldn't be the worst shout either if you wanted to pick a defender. But you're right, it's a tough one because it has been a very balanced performance from Altona Magic tonight.
Yeah, they've done a good job across the board of keeping Bentleigh quiet, even the experienced players that are out there, which most of the team are.
Lambatteridis feeds it to Marios Gerandaris, cleared at the near post. Gerandaris can't make the most of another chance as the ball goes out. So we have ticked 2 minutes into 5 additional. Haven't had too many comments coming through on the Facebook in the second half.
What are your thoughts on the move of Exidius to left back tonight? To obviously cover Alexander, who was sent off last week, but usually a right back and a big part of their attacking play usually starts it off with the Greens.
Yeah, look, I mean, he's still been prominent getting up the pitch. I think that he's been switched over there. I don't think it's had a massively adverse effect on his game. And Jacob Alexander, we saw it in the FFA Cup against Heidelberg last year, is an exceptional attacking full-back. You think about the other absentees and the changes they make. I mean, when everyone's fit for the Bentleigh Greens, if Crooks is back, if Yankovic is back, suddenly Exidius is competing every week just to keep his spot in the starting 11. And that's the sort of environment that John Anastasiadis likes, because it means that no one can get comfortable in the team. So we see Lambatteridis with a long ball here. El-Mazi keeps it away from Saev.
Well, the one thing with Johnny A is he's usually pretty honest with his post-match interviews that you do see on the Bentleigh Greens Facebook. So it'd be interesting to hear his comments tomorrow morning, what he thought of his side's performance now, because he won't use, knowing Johnny A like we do, he won't use the personnel that are missing as an excuse. But I don't know if he'll give too much praise to Altona either. He doesn't like to praise the opposition too much.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how they go in the return fixture later in the year when they play at Kingston Heath. So we have spoken at length about the service here, and a puff of dust rises up right on cue as the ball is then booted away. Bentleigh don't want to leave empty-handed, but Altona are keen to keep the clean sheet as Port Melbourne go 2-0 up against Dandenong Thunder. That would be... Port Melbourne made the top 6 last year. They lost in the first week of finals. And after a slow start, if they can win tonight, all of a sudden they'll be closer to the 6 than the drop zone. And everyone's going to have to start taking them seriously as well. And speaking of taking teams seriously, Altona Magic make a statement here with a 3-0 win against the Bentleigh Greens. First half goal from Sammy Noor, a real contender for the top 10 goals of the season. And then 14 seconds into the second half, Daniel Kaczynski made it 2-0. And then it was 3 when Mikel Hemmon ran on to Kaczynski's assist. Handshakes and amicable between Johnny A and Goran Lozanovski at full-time. Bryce Rutherford, your full-time thoughts, please, on this result.
Yeah, in the end, a dominant performance by the Altona Magic, and just having the experience of former Bentleigh players, Ross Archibald and Troy Ruthven, has definitely helped them in there tonight, and add that James McGarry and Daniel Kaczynski, but they've just dominated. I think the missing personnel for Bentleigh has come through in the end, but to keep a clean sheet, they had plenty of attacking options there with Thurtell coming through after that ankle injury last week, and Altona have sort of shown what they're about this year, and they've got a tough road trip away to Dandy City next Friday night.
Well, Bryce, you will be behind the microphone for that, so thank you for your company this evening, and have a good call next weekend for the Dandenong City versus Altona Magic game. On behalf of the production crew, my name's Teo Pellizzeri. Make sure you stay on the NPL Victoria Facebook page and YouTube channel, because the action continues with the games currently going on between Hume City and Avondale, and also Dandenong Thunder and Port Melbourne. But that's it from Paisley Park. Your full-time score, Altona Magic 3, Bentleigh Greens 0.